Washington, and with him, the senior senator from Arizona, John McCain. Good noon, Peter.
Tom, good noon to you as well. The debate here, of course, all over the budget, the debt ceiling fight. Senator McCain, thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Peter.
Let me ask you, first of all, you've been through a lot of these fights before. What's your sense right now about where we stand right now? Are we headed for a default?
We're headed for it, but I don't think we're going to reach it. And those that argue that, well, we can pay for this and we can pay for that and we can pay, I don't dispute that. What I do dispute is what is the effect on the markets and financial institutions worldwide if it looks like we are going to default on our debt. So as these things usually happen, we get up to 11:59 just before midnight, and that there is some agreement. But frankly, I haven't seen a level of, should I say, emotion associated with previous crises such as 1995. So I think it's going to be very difficult. But I can't imagine us defaulting.
Doesn't it feel a little bit different this time around? There's some different dynamics. Certainly your colleagues over in the House of Representatives, the Republicans, pushing a very hard bargain. But today we had Senator Reid saying, listen, one of the obstacles here is Eric Cantor, one of the Republican negotiators. What do you make of the Republican side of the table there? Do you support how Eric Cantor's handled things so far?
I think Eric Cantor is carrying out the mandate of last November, and that is that they wanted us to stop spending, stop mortgaging our children's futures, while the president keeps talking about spending more money. So I think he's doing that. But at the same time, eat your peas? What kind of language is that? Walking out of a meeting? You know, a lot of us say, what would Ronald Reagan do? I don't think he'd be behaving. I don't think he'd be behaving like that. But again, I think that I want to mention this if I could. Senator McConnell's proposal does give us a signal that we would not be responsible for a shutdown of the government because we would agree to his proposal. But it's the last option. It's the last option after we've explored everything else. And frankly, I hope that my colleagues have not forgotten what happened in 1995.
Well, that backup plan that Senator McConnell rolled out this week has drawn a lot of attention. I know Tom has some questions for you as well.
Senator McCain, I've got just one question because I want Peter to stay on the immediate. How do we get into this mess? Do we blame the culture of Washington and the politicians, or is this a generational change, a lack of discipline by America over the last 10 and 20 years?
All of the above. Out of control spending, expansion of entitlement programs without accurate assessments of the eventual cost. Every entitlement program, with the exception of Medicare Part D, have had the woodworking. More and more people come out of the woodworks, and the costs have automatically gone far beyond any expectations or estimates. And so both sides are guilty. Out of control spending, phony accounting, pay-fors. We've paid for with customs duties. I can't tell you how many bills we have paid for with increases in customs duties. It's been, it accounts for the approval rating. I think last I saw 17% approval rating of Congress, and I haven't met anybody in the 17% category lately.
Senator, you've been a fiscal conservative here for a long time, watching a lot of these issues. If I had told you a year ago that President Obama would offer $4 trillion in deficit reduction over 10 years, that would include $1 trillion in revenue increases, I got to believe that there are a lot of Republicans who would have taken that deal a year ago. What's different now? Why is that not a worthwhile bargain?
What is his plan? It's one thing to go to tell the media, I'm willing to do these things. What are the specifics? He said he's ready to make compromises on entitlements. How? Raise the retirement age? Increase Social Security taxes? What is his plan? He has not come forward with a specific plan that the American people in Congress can consider. At least we passed the Ryan budget. They refused to have, it's been over 2 years. There's not even been a budget here in the Senate with the Democrats in the majority, which is required by law. They're breaking the law by not having a budget. The chairman of the Budget Committee just a couple of days ago said, well, here's a framework. Well, run it through the Budget Committee and bring it to the floor of the Senate. They won't do it because they don't have the votes.
That framework that Senator Conrad put forward on the Democrat side included $800 billion, as I understand it, in defense cuts over 10 years. The president's talking about $400 billion over 10 years. You're the top Republican on the Armed Services Committee. Are you willing to accept defense cuts in that kind of range, $400 billion or more? Is that going to put the nation's defense at risk?
Of course it will. But again, what are those cuts? Are we going to cut the size of the military? That's where a lot of the costs are personnel costs. You know, what is the specifics? It's easy to come out and say we're going to do these things until you get down into the specifics. And frankly, I'm glad to hear that Senator Conrad has a proposal. Well, then run it through the Budget Committee and bring it to the floor of the Senate. The Democrats are in the majority.
All right. Senator John McCain, Republican of Arizona. The debt fight continues.
Please remember the words of Chairman Mao, who said it's always darkest before it's totally black.
Chairman Mao, the thoughts of Chairman Mao here in Congress. Maybe it'll help the whole conversation here, Tom. We'll send it back to you, New York.
Very good. McCain quoting Mao. How perfect is that? Thank you, Peter Cook in Washington. We're going to come back. A spirited conversation. Perfect timing. Lee Bollinger will join us of Columbia